file. First, what we'll do is, first we'll discuss this directory structure we'll discuss. Before discussing this Java and XML, first we'll discuss what? Directory structure we'll discuss. I mean, when you create a project, so you create a folder called Java is one folder, resource is one folder. If you click on this resource folder, again you'll get a lot of subfolders like drawable, layout, values, bitmap, and all. Okay. So before going to see this XML code and the Java code, first we'll discuss the project structure. We'll discuss. First we'll discuss what project structure. We'll discuss. So first we'll discuss what project structure we will discuss. Okay. See here, mainly if you create a project, if you create mainly the main root folders are, there are two folders you can find here. The mainly you can find two files in the project. One is the app, second thing is Gradle scripts. These are the two options you can find in a project. App is one thing, second thing is what? Gradle scripts. This Gradle script is for the studio purpose. This Gradle script is for what? Is for studio purpose. Basically, you will never get a requirement of working with this Gradle scripts option. Basically, you will never get a requirement of working with this Gradle script. This is for the studio purpose. Okay. But for the developer purpose, developer has to interact with this app. Developer has to interact. App. Mainly in the app, there are three folders are there: manifest, Java, and resource. Manifest, Java, and resource. Every day, I mean, all the developers, every Android developer will communicate with these three folders. Every developer will communicate: Java, resource, and manifest. Okay, so we created an app we created called Hello World is the app. So in this Hello World, mainly we got two folders. We got the main root folders. We got two folders. One is the app. Second thing is what? Second thing is the Gradle scripts. Main one is app. Second thing is what? Gradle scripts. I will read this Gradle script is for the studio purpose, the IDE purpose, not for the developer purpose. Developer will not get a requirement of working with these Gradle scripts. So in this app, mainly you can find three folders you can find in this app. One is Java is one folder. Java, next resource, Java, resource, and manifest. Java, resource, and manifest. So these are the three subfolders inside the app. These are the three subfolders inside the app. Okay. See, for each and every screen, just now we discussed, for each and every screen we had to create a Java file we had to create, and we had to create an XML file we had to create. Okay. Java file will be located in the Java folder. So you can find a folder called Java. Once if you click on this Java folder, you will get a folder with the package name. Whatever the package name specified here for your project, we specified a project name called cubex.helloworld is the package name we specified. Whatever the package name is specified for your project, in that package, so we had to create one class we had to create. In this package, we had to create what? In this package, we'll place all the .java files we'll place in this package declaration, we'll specify all the Java files. So here, all the Java files will place inside this Java folder. I'm specifying this star.java, meaning all the Java files will place into this Java folder will place. Next, what is the folder you can find? Resource is a folder. In this resource folder, in this res folder, again there are a lot of subfolders are there in this res. In this resource folder, you can find a lot of subfolders. You can find like drawable, layout, bitmap, values. Like you can find a lot of options, a lot of subfolders you can find in the resource folder. Okay, let me list out. So one is drawable is one folder. Drawable, layout, drawable, layout, values, drawable, layout, values, bitmap. Like you can find a lot of subfolders you can find here. Bitmap, okay, and raw folder. Like you can find a lot of subfolders you can find inside this raw folder. Why these many folders? What exactly resource? Resource res is termed as resource. Res is termed as what? Resource. Purpose of this drawable folder is nothing but if you want to hold any images. So is it audible for others? Okay. So just maybe problem at your end, Pradeep. Just check it once. So here in the resource folder, there is a folder called drawable. Okay. The purpose of this drawable folder is nothing but if you want to place any images, if you want to place any images, we will place the images. We'll place in the drawable folder. We'll place images. We'll place into which folder? Into drawable folder. We'll place the images. If your requirement is if you want to hold some images, if you want to hold in your application, then we'll place images in which folder? In drawable folder. We'll place the images. Next, layout. Layout folder means the user interface XML files. The user interface XML files will place into the layout folder. Will place the user interface XML files. And next thing is nothing but values. In this values means nothing but, for example, if you are creating an application, that application you wants to support in the on the multi languages, Telugu, Hindi, Tamil, in different languages, you want to provide the support. So that I18N, I mean internationalization, that I18N XML files will place into this values folder. Will place I18N XML files internationalization. Next, there is a folder called bitmap. In this bitmap folder, if you have a requirement of placing the application icon, if you have a requirement of placing the application icon, that application icon will place in the bitmap folder. Will place that application icon will place into a folder called what? Bitmap folder will place the application icon. The last thing is what? Raw folder. The last thing is what? Raw. Okay, so this raw folder means if you have a requirement of placing some audio files, video files, text files, audio, video, text. So like these files, these type of files, if you want to hold, we'll place the files into this raw folder. Will place dot mp3 files, dot mp4 files, dot pdf, dot txt. Like any type of file you can place into this raw folder. You can place. Purpose of this resource folder is nothing but see, creating an application means it's not only a Java file and not only the XML file, right? You will get a requirement of holding the different files, different types of images, okay, different format files. Okay, basically the purpose of this resource folder is res is termed as resource, which is used to hold some resources in your application, which is used to hold some resources in your application. That is the purpose of this resource folder. Okay, if you have some files, put the files in the resource folder. Okay, next, what is the next one? Next thing is the manifest. Next thing is what? Manifest. In this manifest you can find an option called android manifest.xml. In this manifest folder you can find an option called what? Android manifest.xml is a file name. In manifest folder you can find a file called what? Android manifest.xml is a XML file name. Okay, what is this Android manifest.xml? What is this Android manifest.xml? So Android manifest.xml provides complete description about your application. So here complete description means how many activities are there in your project, how many background screens are there, if user required any permissions, are you using any device specific features, which one is the initial activity, in your project, like each and everything about our project. So we'll configure in the manifest.xml. which provides a complete description about the application. Complete description about the application. Android platform. Complete description about the application. Android platform. Before installing the application. Android platform. Before installing the application and before starts the application. Before installing the application, before starts the application, it reads manifest.xml. I mean, the Android platform reads manifest.xml before installing the application and before starts the application. Okay, meaning like it's a configuration file. It's a configuration file your project, like what is application icon, what is the minimum version, what is the target version, like each and everything about our project we had to configure in the manifest.xml. Android platform before installing the application and before start the application. Before installing the application and before start the application, it reads what? It reads manifest.xml file it will read. Okay, just let me try once. See, so I'm trying to download an app from Play Store. I'm trying to download an app from Play Store. I'm trying to download. For example, this is some game, some Despicable Me. There is some game is there. Okay, or this Trials Frontier. Okay, so I want to install this app. I want to install. I'm trying to install this app. So whenever you select this install button, see it is asking this application needs access to what? In-app purchases, your phone identity information, your phone photos, media files, and the Wi-Fi information. Where the developer is going to configure these details was if you want to install this application, you have to give the permissions for these applications or these features like in-app purchases, identity, photos, media, files, and Wi-Fi. So you have to provide the permissions for these things. You have to provide the permissions. Okay. So where the developer is going to configure these details. So developer is going to configure these details in the manifest.xml. I mean, Android platform. Before installing the application only, it is reading the manifest.xml file. It is reading before installing the application. That is the first thing. Second thing is, for example, I downloaded one app. I downloaded an app. You downloaded. It contains a lot of screens. For example, this tricky test. Okay, I downloaded one app. I downloaded it may contains n number of screens. Best example, let's take WhatsApp. Let's take WhatsApp. See, WhatsApp contains a lot of screens, right? WhatsApp contains a lot of screens, but whenever I open the WhatsApp, directly it is showing the chat screen is showing. Why it is showing by default? It's a chat screen. Why not contacts or why not calls? So why not calls and why not call? I mean, why not just calls and contacts? Whenever you open the app, directly by default it is showing as the chat screen is showing by default. Meaning where the developer is going to configure this. Where the developer is going to configure this, I mean this is the initial screen in your application. Where the developer is going to configure this one. Developer is going to configure these details also. Developer is going to configure in the manifest.xml only. Before starting that's why I told the last statement, Android platform. Before installing the application and before start the application, it reads manifest.xml. Okay, so mainly these are the three folders every Android developer, I mean every day the Android developer will get a requirement of working. One is the Java files, next different resources, different XML files, okay, different format files, and the manifest.xml, Android manifest.xml file. Okay, so these three folders are visible to the user. I mean in your project, these three folders are visible to the user like Java, resource, and manifest.xml. There are two more files are there, most important files. There are two more files are there. Of course, it will not visible to the user. I mean, these two formats of files will not visible to the user. It will generate in the backend. It will generate. Okay. The two formatted files are one is r.java is one thing. One file is what? R.java is one file. Second thing is APK is another file. R.java is one file. Second thing is what? APK file. These two files will not be visible to the user. Of course, it's going to generate in the backend, it will generate. Backend, it will generate these two files, but it will not visible to the user, it will not visible. One of the most important thing is this R.java. So what is this R.java? Because you have to understand, like, once if you start the programming part, once if you start the programming part in n number of places, you can find this R.java. I'll show you best example. We got the Java code we got, right? By default, we got a Java code we got by default. I'll open the Java code, I'll open. So in this Java code, here you can find r.layout.activity underscore main. Meaning what is in by this r.layout? That's what we are understanding first. We are understanding the basic concepts, we are understanding what we required for creating an application. Then after that we'll write the coding part, we'll write. Okay. So see here, what exactly this r.java? Basically, R is termed as a resource. R is termed as what? Resource. R is termed as a resource. Meaning, in our project, there is a folder called resource is a folder. In our project, there is a folder called what? Resource. Meaning this R is termed as what? Resource. What is the purpose of this resource folder? If you want to hold any files, put the files in resource folder. This R.java is an abstraction between R.java is an abstraction between R.java is an abstraction between the Java files. R.java is an abstraction between the Java files and Java files. R.java is an abstraction between the Java file and different resources which are available in resource folder. Which are available in resource folder. R.java is abstraction, meaning it's a middle layer. This R.java is an abstraction between the Java file and different resources which are available in resource folder. Which are available in resource folder. Meaning, if you want to access any file, if you want to access from the resource folder, if you want to access any file, if you want to access from the resource folder into your Java code. Like for example, you are creating an application we are creating an application we are creating. My requirement is, here I want to display one image I want to display. My requirement is what? I want to display one image I want to display. Where you are writing the logic? You are writing the logic in a Java code, you are writing the logic. You are writing some logic, you are writing the code, you are writing in a Java file, you are writing the logic. Okay, you are writing the code in Java, you are writing the code to place an image here, to place an image on the screen. This is a requirement. I want to place an image, I want to place on the screen, I want to place the image. So I'm writing the Java code, I'm writing here. Okay, but actually the file is placed in the resource folder. The file is placed in which folder? Resource folder, the file is placed. And in the resource folder, there is a folder called drawable is a folder, right? There is a folder called what? Drawable is a folder. This drawable folder contains a file called, for example, sample.png is the file. Sample.png is the file. So here, the purpose of this R.java is nothing but it is an abstraction. It is an abstraction between a Java file and different resources which are available in resource folder. Meaning if you want to access any file, if you want to get from the resource folder, your requirement is if you want to get any file, if you want to get from the resource folder, if you want to get any file, if you want to get from the resource folder, then we use this R.java file we use. R is termed as a resource. It is an abstraction between R.java is an abstraction between the Java file and different resources which are available in the resource folder. If you want to get any file, if you want to get from the resource folder, we use a file called what? We use this R.java file we use to get any resource from resource folder. Now next step we'll see how we'll get the resources. I mean how we'll get the file we'll get into Java code by using this r.java. That we'll discuss in the next step. That is, for every resource in resource folder, for every resource in resource folder, it will create a static integer field in r.java. For every resource in resource folder, it will create a static integer field. It will create a static integer field in r.java. With the help of this integer field, with the help of this, with the help of this integer field, with the help of this integer field, we can access the resource into what? We can access the resource into activity. Mean what are the file you are placing? For each and every file in the resource folder, it will create what? A static integer field in r.java. With the help of this integer field, we can access the resource, we can access into activity we can access. Meaning, just for example, see you placed a file you placed in the drawable folder. There is a folder called drawable and sample is a file name. You placed a file in the drawable, file name is what? Sample. How we'll access into your Java code is, it's going to create a class. Basically, R is a class name. R is what? R is a class. R is what? R is a class. For each and every folder, meaning inside the resource folder, for each and every folder, it will create a static inner class. It will create static class. One is drawable is a class name. One class name. Next, like for each and every folder inside this resource folder, it will create a static inner class. It will create. For example, there is a folder called layout. Static class layout. Like for each and every folder, it is going to create a static inner class. It's going to create a static inner class. It will create for each and every folder. Okay. Again, each and every folder contains a lot of subfiles. For example, this sample, like it contains some files. For each and every file in that particular folder, it will create a static integer field. It will create static int. For example, you placed a file called sample file. You placed in the drawable folder. It is going to assign some address location. It is going to assign for this. Some address location is going to assign for this one. For example, you created XML file you created in the layout folder. It will create a static integer field. It will create static int. Just for example, I'm taking the XML file name as main is XML file name. Here also it is going to assign some address location. It's going to assign. So internally, whatever the file you are placing in the resource folder, for each and every folder, it is going to create a static integer field. It is going to create internally in the r.java file. If you want to access that file, it's simple. There is a file in the drawable folder. You want to access in your Java code if you want to access. Simple. Just how we'll call this is r.drawable. Specify the file name. I mean, in our example, we taken a file name as sample is a file name we take. So in this way, you can access the file. You can access into our Java code. You can access r.drawable.sample. Okay. So with the help of this r.java, we can access any file. You can access from the resource folder. We can access. Now, for example, you placed a file in the layout folder. You placed a file called main is a file. If you want to access that file, simply will specify r.layout.main is a file, like this. So with the help of this r.java, we'll access the files. We'll access into our Java code. What are the files we placed in the resource folder? That is the purpose of this r.java. Okay. Next, what is the last one? Last thing is APK. So basically, APK is termed as Android application package. APK is termed as what? APK is termed as Android application package. APK is termed as what? Android application package. So it is an installation file in Android platform. It is an installation file It is an installation file in Android platform. So in Android, if you want to install any, in Android, if you want to install any application, if you want to install, what is the extension? That file extension is APK. It is an installation file in Android platform. So internally, what this APK file contains, .apk consists assets, .apk consists .dex, resource, assets, libraries, and manifest.xml. So these are the folders. These are the folders you can find. I mean, these are the files and folders you can find in the APK folder. It contains .dx. .dx means nothing but the first class I told you. What is .dx? It's nothing but your Java code only. Now we'll submit the Java code to JDK. It's going to produce a .class file. Next, that to execute that .class file, in case of Android, we are having a DVM. So DVM will execute that Java bytecode will execute and will convert into its own bytecode format called .dx. Yeah. So .dx means nothing but ultimately your Java code only. Okay. .dx and your resource folder, assets, libraries, and manifest.xml. Meaning, when you create a project, in the project we got these three folders we got, right? So we create a project we got. What are the folders we got? We got Java, Java is a folder name we got. Next, we got a folder called what? Resource folder we got. Resource folder contains a lot of subfolders, and you got a one more folder called manifest.xml. And there is a one more folder called libraries. Basically, we have not used that one. Meaning, if you are using any third-party libraries like Google Maps, Google Places, if you use third-party libraries, then you'll get a folder called libraries folder. You can get libs folder, and you can find one more folder called assets also. This assets also holding for files. Later you'll understand what is the difference between resource and assets. Basically, this is a project. We create a project we created. .apk file contains what? .apk file consists, internally this .apk file consists .dx. .dx means nothing but your Java code only. .dx means nothing but your project Java code, resource, next, assets, manifest.xml. Meaning your entire project is converted into a single executable file. Your entire project is converted into a single file, that is what? APK. The entire project is converted into a single executable file, that is what? APK. APK is termed as Android application package. Okay, so these are the main files and folders you can find in your project. These are the main files and folders you can find in your project. Okay, so now here let's start with XML. For each and every screen in Android, we had to create two files. We had to create one is Java file, and one more thing is what? XML. One XML file you had to create, and one Java file you had to create for each and every screen. Right? Now let's see what this XML file contains and how to create this XML file. And once the XML part is done, then we'll discuss about the Java part. We'll discuss. Okay. So XML file is located in which folder? By default, we got an XML file. We got by default. So let's open this resource folder. In resource folder, you can find a folder called layout is a folder name. In resource, you can find a folder called what? Layout is a folder. In this layout folder, you can find an XML file. You can find activity underscore main.xml. By default, we got an XML file. We got by default. Okay, so now we'll see how to create this XML file. See, there are two tabs are there. One is design is one tab. You can find two tabs you can find here. One is design is one tab. Second thing is text is another tab. Design or text. So if you select this design, you can create the user interface by using drag and drop. You can create the user interface. You can create a button, or you can create a radio button. You can create a checkbox. You can create the user interface. You can create by using drag and drop. You can create the user interface. You can create this user interface by using drag and drop. It's very easy also to use this drag and drop for creating the user interface. But in the industry, we never prefer to use this drag and drop for creating the user interface. In the industry, we never prefer to use what? This drag and drop for creating the user interface, because later you're going to get a lot of UI issues you're going to get because of this drag and drop. Okay, that's why we never prefer to use this drag and drop approach for creating the UI. Okay, then how to create the user interface? You said the you will not prefer to use this drag and drop for creating the user interface. So manually we'll create the user interface. Manually, if you want to create the user interface, just select this text tab. Select the text tab, you'll get the XML code you'll get. If you want to see the preview, how it will display on UI, then you can select this design attribute, you can select to show you how it will display on the screen. Okay, now select this text. Once if you select this text, if you select, you'll get the XML code you'll get. If you select text tab, if you select, you will get the XML code you'll get. Okay, XML. Briefly, I'll tell you what exactly XML. XML is termed as extensible markup language. XML is termed as what? Extensible markup language. Markup language means nothing but what? Enclosing the data within tags is called as a markup language. XML is termed as what? Extensible markup language. Extensible markup language. You can find one HTML also you can find. Even the HTML also what? HTML is termed as hypertext markup language. Hypertext markup language. Extensible markup language and hypertext markup language. Any common term here? There is a common term called what? Markup language is a common term. Markup language is the common term. What is in my markup language? Markup language means nothing but enclosing the data. Enclosing the data within tags is called as a markup language. Enclosing the data within tags is called as what? Is called as a markup language. Meaning if you put some data, if you put within the tags, enclosing the data within tags is called as what? Markup language. Meaning if you put some data, if you put within the tags, if you put some data, if you put within the tags, that is called as what? That is called as a markup language. Do you know HTML is a child of XML? There is no XML, there is no concept of HTML, because HTML is a child of what? XML. Enclosing the data within tags is called as what? Markup language. Okay, so just for your understanding, I'm creating one sample XML file. I'm creating one sample XML file. I'm creating. For example, I want to maintain multiple employees records. I want to maintain. So employees is a main root tag. I want to maintain multiple employee records. I want to maintain. So I specified employees is a main root tag which contains a tag called employee. I want to maintain ID. Okay, this is a sample XML. This is a sample XML. Hey, someone is enabled that mic. Okay, employee, and finally we'll close what? Employees. Okay, so this is a sample XML. This is what? A sample XML. Okay, so here I followed some rules to create this XML. And before that, let's see.
Mahesh, your screen is frozen. Okay, understand. And your voice also not clear. It's muffled.
Now, is it audible now?
Yeah, now it is okay. I'm not about others.
This is on sample XML file. This is on sample XML file. I'm also getting some disturbance, but all are disabled. I mean, mic is disabled for all, but I don't know from where I'm getting disturbance. Now it's clear.
Maybe it's echo from your side.
Okay. Okay. It's fine. So this is on sample XML file. I'll do one thing. Just I'll relog in because I'm getting my voice only. Just I'll relog in. Just give me a minute. Naresh, temporarily I'm making as the organizer. You cannot. But she, I'm making you as the admin. So I'll leave. Just I'll relog in again. Just give me a minute.